Absolutely. But, talking about, becoming a promoter, 2009, you buy Combat Zone Wrestling. What was were you always wanting to be a promoter? Was promoter that something in your mind? Or did this just sort of fall in your lap, the opportunity to buy it? How did this come to be?
There was really three things that really sparked it. One was I had a little bit of a WWE run, and I kind of messed that up on my own accord. Which, when I thought that was not going to happen, when I was like, okay, well, you're not going to get signed, you're not going to get you're not going to be, the next thing, and you had these opportunities and you blew them, which is part of the mistakes I made. What are you going to do? Also, I had already been doing like small charity shows with Maven Bentley at the time. And it was more about like, I was a trainer, I was teaching people. I had an amazing class of students that, I mean, you're looking all over. I mean, they're all of them are on TV or famous on the indie scene or something at this point. At that time, and I wanted to give them a platform. I didn't want them to kind of get lost in the shuffle. I wanted to give them opportunities, and I used to have ideas of how I thought wrestling should be, not what I had to do. And we got to do that a lot on some of these charity shows. And the other thing was I was already doing a ton of things behind the scenes at CZW, from, I mean, getting talent, because I was one of those guys who had John's ear at the time. I could talk to him about this guy or this guy. Hey, give this guy an opportunity. There's tons of people that got booked because of me. And, I was at the school. I saw him a lot. It was one of those things where, I was doing the merch. I had all the relationships with everybody. I knew pretty much everything. And at that time, financially, we were not doing well. Not for what we were spending. And John was going through a lot of personal things. He had just lost his son, and, that had to have been hard on him. And I remember when the first TOD, which was the TOD that Nick Cage got flown in out and helicoptered, and, made him super legendary at my mom's and dad's farm. When that happened, I remember literally we had a building, and about a week and a half out, we didn't have a building, and I made it happen. I just went out there and figured it out and did all the work. And I remember John saying, you're going to be a good promoter someday. And then after TOD, which TOD was a rousing success, the next show after that usually doesn't do very well. And I think, I remember the conversation where John was with me, Maven, and a couple other people, and he was just like, shut it down. And he was done. And I think it wasn't that he was just done financially. I think it was done mentally. He had gone through a lot of things that I go through now. And, to him, it was not about business, I don't think. And which is sad, because I kind of inherited that at times. It was more the personal stuff. He was doing this because it was his guys and, his family. And like to him, it was that way. And then I literally had a conversation. I talked to my family, and to be honest, I mortgaged my grandmother's house, and, took everything that was going to be my future and said, I'm going to buy a wrestling company. And I remember talking to everybody that was in my life at that time saying, I think I'm going to do this. I think this is going to be my life. And at that point, I'd already been making a living off of wrestling for a while. And I was just like, okay, I'm going to do this. And, at that point, I felt like the talent was my family and my friends and everybody that I loved, from John Moxley and Sami Callihan to Black G's and Joker and, Nick Gage, everybody. And I just went in there and said, I'm going to do this. And then we wrote up a contract. I got people to look at it, and John, I don't even think John read it. He just signed it and was like, where's my money? And he was out. And then he wanted to have his last show, which was Tangle Web 2, and he wanted to do it his way. And that was one of the big things, because I was very much like, no, I don't want people knowing yet. I'll do this my own way, like when I can figure out what I want to do. And he was like, nope, we're going to go do this out here. I'm going to pass the torch. And at that point, I think I was already like one of the worst guys the fans hated. I mean, they hated me. They still do. They hate me more now. But like the audience just was like, oh, man, I was one of the worst guys ever. And then you just hand the company over to me. And I think people thought it was an angle. You know, I think people were like expecting like, oh, this isn't real. You know, I mean, this is some kind of, you know, thing. And I remember walking in the back and I had like 5 people quit the first night, you know, and it was just like, because it wasn't John anymore. You know, he didn't tell anybody, and neither did I, besides like a few key people that I knew we needed. And, you know, whether it was from a production standpoint or a business standpoint or something, they needed to know. Because if I didn't have them on my team, I was screwed. And I don't like, none of the talent knew. Not even people I was closest with, besides Maven, because he helped orchestrate the deal. They didn't know. And John went out there, shook my hand, gave me a plaque, and was like, you know, after today, it's yours, kid. And, you know,
did any of the boys in the back think it was a work?
Some of them did it first. And, you know, it was one of those things, like he called everybody out to the ring and we were all like, what's going on? Like people were just like, if I recall, I was in like jean shorts and like a sleeveless shirt or something. And I didn't even think we were doing it then. I thought we were doing it at the end of the night. And he opened the show with it and he was like, nope, we're doing this. Gave people plaques. He basically said his goodbye and, you know, and moved on. And I think that's how he felt about it. And, you know, obviously there's more to that story later down the road, but that's how it works.
And you know, you mentioned, you know, you were one of the most hated guys in CZW, you know, from a storyline perspective and performance perspective. Do you think that if you weren't a heel, that you would have been perceived differently coming out? Like, if you think that you were a babyface, do you think that you would have been? Because over the years, I've seen online, like, people have a lot of mixed reactions when it comes to you. It's either people love you or not so much. But do you think, like, if you were a babyface, that trajectory would have been different for you? So we just had another pause, guys. DJ will be back in just a second. But as I said, guys, make sure you check out our website, mwapodcastnetwork.com. We got everything there for you guys. You can see upcoming shows, some of our past shows, and all of our content can be found at mwapodcastnetwork.com.
Just when you were saying a good thing about me, nobody says good things about me. You were saying from a heel perspective. So like with me, I don't believe in faces and heels. I never have. I think when I got smart to wrestling, I stopped doing that. I believed in characters, and I was just, they hated me because I was not him. They loved him. John was a man of the people. It was, you know, you're not John Zandig. And I was, you know, the bad guy. I was in that role. And I think at one point, like, didn't me and Danny Havoc or something, like, didn't me and somebody try to like steal me, you know, kill his grandson or something? It was a baby or something that John came up with some idea. And I was like, all right, whatever, fine. That's what you want. But like, you know,